Hello, I'm Scotty, the rocker engineer. The EU U-turn on ICE engine will spell the end of EVs. Or will it? The internet is flooded with articles and videos talking about the U-turn and anti-EV dyno burners framing it as the end of the EV, discouraging the viewers from transition from internal combustion engine, ICE for short, cars to EVs. Generally speaking, I think the more choice we will have to drive around, the better, and let the market decide. If policymakers want to incentivize the masses either or other direction, so be it, as long as that is a positive encouragement, more like carrot than stick. So, I'm offering you some facts and thoughts and invite you for a debate in the comment section. We can talk about the EU U-turn because there is no word about the UK U-turn yet. As we regained our sovereignty, right, we don't have to follow the EU. In fact, the Brexit party, the Farage party, what is that? Reform, must be against such U-turn in the UK to make sure we are not rule takers, right? And the Tories, well, it was their clone who introduced this ban at the first place. This is one of their legacy, and actually isn't the stupidest one by a mile. Anyway, let's see what the original scope was. No new ICE engine car and van allowed to be sold from 2035. No impact on current ICE cars, and exception for vehicles that can run exclusively on CO2 neutral e-fuels, potentially luxury or classic cars. And there is a point here to raise. Those new cars will happily be able to run on fossil petrol as well. So if the e-fuel price will be higher, nothing will stop those billionaires to trick the system to fill up their shiny brand new luxury and supercars at any standard fuel pump, right? Now, as long as we are talking about a tiny fraction of the new cars, we can say, okay, so what? So what is the U-turn proposal at all? The original goal of 100% reduction of tailpipe emission by 2035 has been replaced with 90% reduction target. Automakers can still sell a small portion, roughly 10%, of their fleet as ICE, hybrid, or plug-in hybrid vehicles beyond 2035. So 90% EV, 10% other. It doesn't sound like to me the death of EV, does it? The remaining 10% of tailpipe emission must be compensated for by using low-carbon green steel made in EU or by powering vehicles with e-fuels and sustainable biofuels. This might help later on to open up the door further percentage of ICE car using e-fuels, but here is the problem. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but in reality, any current and new cars can run either on e-fuel or fossil fuel. This is what Richard Hammond says all the time. So we don't talk about only a tiny fraction of the new cars anymore. Then, to make sure the CO2 reduction really will happen, the only way is to have a, let's call it, cutoff date, and from that point you can purchase or sell nothing else but e-fuels at the pump stations. In our current petrol and diesel, there is 10 and 7% biofuel. I showed it in the previous episode. It results roughly 17% uplift of the fuel retail cost. A quick calculation would suggest the increase of the biofuel content from 7% to 90% in the diesel, for instance, will double the price. Just think about it for a moment. What if the current cheapest diesel price around 142 pence per liter will shoot up to 284 pence per liter from tomorrow? Of course, we can change the biofuel portion in small steps. It's like cut off the boxer's tail in bits by bits, because to cut such a big tail with a single cut would be too painful for the poor thing, right? But there is a much bigger problem here. Current biofuel made from plant resources. You saw the deforestation for growing corn to make biofuels, right? That's not sustainable and no chance to fuel all cars and trucks on the road, and that isn't e-diesel either. The HVO, hydrotreated vegetable oil, is the e-diesel and mainly made of used cooking oil. Just think about how many liters of cooking oil you use compared to how many liters of diesel, let's say, in a week. If you want your fuel sourced from your used cooking oil, boy, that's a hell of a lot of fish and chips to eat. And of course, you still need an enormous amount of new cooking oils at the first place. So deforestation 2.0. Here is some comparison between HVO versus diesel, so you can stop the video and read it through if you want it. So the price will be driven by scarcity to the height, which will balance out the demand and supply. There's no high-scale HVO production in the UK today. The total HVO production capacity in Europe is projected to increase substantially to the estimated 17.8 million tons by 2030, which is in pair with the expected cooking oil consumption of 21-ish million tons a year. As a comparison, diesel consumption today stands around 200 million tons in the EU, so 11 times more fish and chips, or pretty soon chips only, because there will be no fish to catch anymore. Well, if you think this sounds a bit difficult or kinda dog's dinner, just wait for the E-petrol story. The idea is to get hydrogen from water with electrolysis using renewable electricity, capture CO2 from atmosphere or industrial sources, and combine hydrogen and CO2 to end up with hydrocarbons and oxygen. Simple as that. This whole lot is very energy intense, and you will end up with way less available energy in the e-fuel than the energy you put into the process in form of electricity. There is an operational small pilot plant, as far as I'm aware, in Chile, with Exxon and Porsche, predominantly for the race car. Some other global players are studying the case as well. It's fine. We will have traditional ICE cars available to buy, but not sure we will have e-fuel at affordable price for the masses. Hooray! Of course, you can say mass production like this and that and technology development will bring the price down, but I can tell you, mass production will only happen if the big oil companies will see the business case in it and start evaluation and project planning kinda now. You might remember big oils like BP and Shell jumped on the hydrogen train earlier, but later they pulled out. Probably they realized there's no real business case in it. I can make another video if you ask for in the comment section. What is helpful and unhelpful in the same time for E-petrol, that this technology is similar to create sustainable aviation fuel. The UK government has a SAF, Sustainable Aviation Fuel, mandate enforced from January 1st, 2025, requiring fossil fuel jet fuel supplier to blend and increasing the percentage of SAF into UK aviation fuel, starting 2% in 2025, increasing to 10% by 2030, and reaching 22% by 2040, with the goal of decarbonizing aviation. So the market is there, it has been created, which is helpful, but aviation will need enormous amount, which is unhelpful for road transport when it comes to availability and price. As I said, the more choice we will have to drive around, the better, and let the market decide. However, for many people don't have any economically reasonable choice other than ICE car, as they don't have driveway to charge their car for cheap overnight tariff. So they are kind of left behind, left out from the benefit to reduce their motoring cost. I know there are public charger installation into street lamps, not sure how many actually are in operation and what price, but still the maximum 2 cars per lamp, what, 50, 100 meters apart, nowhere near enough for full coverage. A few months back, I saw a public charger in a casing which has the same dimension as a curbstone. Those could be installed replacing curbstones, let's say every 5 meters, along the street where people are parking, and with some RFID card, yeah, I'm very 21st century, they could use the charger to charge the car overnight, probably at the similar low tariff as the driveway owners have. So, will the U-turn spell the end of EVs? Well, I don't think so. But please, leave your opinions in the comment section and let's discuss it further. Next week I will show my overall cost comparison of my EV versus diesel since I am without my red gorgeous. I hope you will join me. Until then, have a great time.